Hi, and welcome back to the Drama-Free Healthy Living podcast. I'm your host, Jess Cording. I'm so excited you're joining me for today's episode. I'm torn between gushing about how awesome it was and just rushing to get you into the episode so you can hear for yourself. But sometimes when I'm talking with a podcast guest, I get goosebumps because just what they're saying just resonates so much with me, and I just love what they're doing. And so today I'm talking with Ashley Fillmore, who, oh my gosh, you guys are going to love Ashley. So she is a leading expert in sustainable weight loss. So she helps women heal their metabolism, balance their hormones, and achieve body composition changes that last a lifetime, taking a comprehensive approach. So Ashley is trained in exercise nutrition, as well as she's a certified personal trainer, professional nutrition coach, and health educator with almost 20 years of experience in this field. She's also the host of the Cheers to Your Success podcast, which I've been a guest on, and the founder and president of Metabolic Fix, which is a premium online coaching company that's helped thousands of women break free from chronic dieting and achieve long-term sustainable results using the Metabolic Fix method, which she talks a little bit about with us in this episode. You will hear this in our conversation, but Ashley is deeply committed to helping women improve their lives and she works to inspire others to embrace health, happiness, and self-love, which so many of us struggle with. And, there's a lot of what she says is just so aligned with what I help my clients with. And I just love getting to talk with her about this field. And, as we were talking, so we recorded this on my sister's birthday. And for some of you who have been with me a while, you know that I definitely have a bit of a woo side. And I was hesitant. I wasn't even sure I was going to tell you guys, but I can't not share this. It was just so cool. So when my dad passed, we did talk with him a little bit about science. And, for me, in the years since my father's passed, one of the signs, that I associate with him, the kind of touching base, is a feather. And in my second book, The Farewell Tour, there's a whole chapter about that and just some wacky feather experiences I had and continue to have. If you follow me on Instagram at Jess Cording, you'll probably see some interesting feather happenings now and then. But my sister, her symbol for my dad is a blue jay, and particularly one that won't go away when it shows up and it is hanging around. And she has her own explanation of why that is meaningful to her. But so I mentioned that we recorded this episode on my sister's birthday, and sometimes I'll see a blue jay or see a blue jay feather, which is even cooler. At times that are just meaningful. And I think last year around her birthday, there was a blue jay trying to get into my house. But as we're recording this episode, there was a blue jay circling outside my window throughout the entire recording. The whole time I was talking with Ashley, including as I'm talking to you guys now, recording this, he's just flying around, poking around, looking in the window and going up to the front door. And it just, I don't know, it just feels very positive and very just, just good vibes. And it's a nice little addition to the energy for today's episode. So whether or not you believe in science, I think you're really going to love this episode. Ashley has so much wisdom to share. So yeah, enough of me talking. Let's just get to the episode. Welcome to Drama-Free Healthy Living with Jess Cording. I'm your host, Jess Cording. I'm a registered dietitian, health coach, and author, and I'm here to help you streamline your wellness routine and establish a sane, more balanced relationship with food and fitness so you can reach your goals without losing your mind. On this podcast, we'll talk about nutrition, exercise, self-care, mindset, and more. I'll be bringing you interviews and expert insight on the topics that matter to your health and wellness. I'm so excited to chat with you today. I love the topics of, women's health and hormone health and fitness and just how it all fits together. So I'm excited to nerd out with you on this.
I know. I'm so excited. This is something that I feel like we can never talk about enough. There's so much just constant education, research coming out about hormones and metabolism. And as women, we are evolving. Our hormones are shifting day to day, year by year. So I think it's definitely a really great conversation.
So I would love to know, I always ask my guests their origin stories. And so I would just love to hear what inspired you to do the work that you do today.
Yeah, so I was lucky to just have you on my show, and you were a wonderful guest. And, I'm just can't wait for that conversation to come out. But very similar to your journey. I've been doing this now for almost 20 years, and a lot has evolved. And to be honest with you, I had evolved. And the way that I serve my clients and audience has evolved as well, as it should, right? As we evolve as women, when we start our career, specifically me, I was in my early 20s, just graduating college, had very little experience. And then over the years, I've gained a lot of experience under my belt, and the education and information has also evolved. But intertwined with that is my personal journey. And a lot of my story and my journey has also influenced the work that I do. So, my undergraduate degrees in exercise and nutrition, I went on immediately from college, started my internship, which became my full time job, my first real job. And it was actually my only job in this career before becoming self employed. And really quickly, I learned that there was so much more to this than eat less, exercise more. And not only did I see that in practice with my clients, I also recognized that for myself because behind the scenes, even though I was, practicing things by the book, I was at times dieting, doing really extreme things, over exercising to try and change my body because that's the way that I thought I should do it. And I realized really quickly that that wasn't sustainable or healthy for my own hormones and metabolism. And very sadly, in my early 20s, I had the hormones of a post or really a perimenopausal woman or leading into postmenopause. And so for me, it was a really big eye opener that so much of what we do to our bodies is going to influence our hormones. And even if you are in your 20s, you're not protected. You can do things to deplete your hormones, to deplete your sex hormones, your stress hormones. And so it was really an eye-opening experience for me. And those years definitely impacted my work. So I went on to get more advanced training in hormones and metabolism and really just wanting to understand what is going on here because this whole eat less, move more formula just really isn't working for a lot of women. And a lot of my clients then, even though I was in my early 20s, they were 35, 40, 45, 50, really in that season of life where, they had to take action if they wanted to stay healthy or get healthy. So much of that has influenced me. And so I worked for that company for many years and then decided in 2015 to become self employed. And I started my own business in person. And then a couple of years later, I decided after starting my family, I have two daughters, that I was ready to move things online and make a larger impact. And that's when Metabolic Fix became a thing and a company. And here I am now almost 6 years later. But I will say, I have evolved and learned so much throughout this journey, not only as a woman, but as a mother, as a business owner, as a wife, also juggling all the things in this season and really realizing that there's so much to this equation. And although we are in a very busy and demanding season, there's so much that we can do to take control of our health and really thrive through this season of life and not let it get the best of us. Because I will say, if you're on the other side of this and right now you don't have proper education and support, you can very much so feel like your better days are behind you. Once you're 35 plus, your good days are done. Your health is going to start deteriorating. Your midsection's going to expand and you're just going to have to deal with whatever's left there. And so, I really do try and teach women that, hey, we can turn this car around for you. I've done it for myself. And now navigating these years as well, we can do a lot to make this journey and the normal transitions with perimenopause and then menopause a lot easier and more doable.
I love that so much. Everything you shared just resonates so much with me. And oh gosh, I wish we could go back in time and find that little kernel, where that eat less, move more thing comes from and just do something about that.
Yeah.
I see women all the time. They're trying to eat 1,000 calories and work out for at least an hour a day, doing tons of cardio and or they're trying to lift super heavy weights, but they're not eating enough. And so then they get injured and oh man, and then they can't sleep and their cycles are all off and it's amazing. And so the work you do is so meaningful. So thank you for all of that.
Yeah, I love it. And for all the reasons you just said, it's so important to just get really good education out to women so they can make empowered decisions and truly start to listen more to their bodies.
Oh my gosh, our bodies are so smart. And I always tell my clients, it's like, but it's up to us to listen to them. And I think there has been so much brainwashing that has occurred just to get women like tuned out of their bodies and like listening to all this external noise about what they should be doing. And it's always so, one of the things that makes me happiest about the work that I do is when a client will tell me about an experience where she was paying attention to what her body needed and wanted and just feeling in touch with that. Like that is such a beautiful thing.
It is. It really is.
And I would love to hear from your experience, what are some of the things? I know you focus a lot on metabolic health and helping women experience sustainable, healthy weight loss. And what are some of the biggest struggles that women face when it comes to this?
Yeah. So, one of the big things that I'm starting to do with my work and just the evolution of my career and where I am is I'm also coming to the realization that weight loss is just one piece of the puzzle.
Mhm.
And we really have to look at the full puzzle. And so much of what you do to get hormonally healthy and metabolically healthy is going to impact your weight, either for good or, for worse. And so we have a lot of challenges, as you just mentioned, with the eat less culture, starving pretty much to try and lose weight, overtraining, lifting weights and trying to push it in the gym, but then chronically under eating, where we know that formula is that's going to equal, injuries, muscle loss, regressions, not truly getting the benefits that you want, even though you're working so hard. So there's a lot of challenges, especially as you start to get older in your mid 30s and beyond, because you have natural hormonal shifts starting to take place. Your life is also shifting to where possibly these are the years, if you're in this season where you're working and having a family or building a family, and you are managing life with your kids and potentially aging parents and the demands of career and personal life. So you have so much going on while you also simultaneously have so many things shifting hormonally and metabolically speaking. If you have been following the dieting culture, you know that a lot of what we've been taught is eat less, cut out your fat, or do extreme things like keto or fasting or any low carb every single day, which would be keto, but, more advanced things like carb cycling. And really, you don't have to do all of that to see lasting results. There is a basic formula that works. And I think when you go about it in more of a holistic way, you will support your body in a way to where sustainable weight loss becomes possible, simultaneously working on hormonal health, overall metabolic health, overall quality of life and longevity, and aging better. Because really, this is what it's all about. Typically, if you feel like your weight is not at a great spot, your energy's low, you probably aren't feeling so great. You're probably not feeling like the strongest, healthiest version of yourself. Maybe your doctor has said something to you. Maybe there's labs that have came back, out of range in some capacity. So typically, if you feel like you want to lose weight, really there's a lot of other things going on. That's just one symptom out of many symptoms.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, that, I'm like listening, I'm like, yep, that and that and that. It's so important. And I like what you said about that you don't have to do all of that to see lasting results. I think there's this belief I see so many women struggle with that they have to do something extreme to get results. Do you see that in your work?
I see it all the time. And even with my education and background, when I first started this career, I was one of them. I thought, well, I know that you're supposed to do it this way, but if I really want to look muscular, if I really want to get lean, if I really want to have a flat stomach, back then that was my primary goals, then I have to push it even harder. And this is going to be okay to do this to my body. And it wasn't okay. And you don't have to do that. But yes, I see it all the time with women.
Gosh, me too. And you said a number of things that really I think would speak to a lot of our listeners about some of the things that, as women get into their late 30s and beyond, like that they are dealing with in their life that can make this all feel more challenging. And, what are some of the main barriers that you see for women when it comes to reaching and maintaining a healthy weight and experiencing optimal health with their hormones and just their overall well-being?
Yeah, I would say some of the main barriers when it comes to that is having the tools and resources needed. So, meaning it's really hard to know how to maintain a healthy weight when no one's ever taught you how to do that. So many programs will emphasize fat loss and weight loss, but they give you zero resources on how to maintain those results, what to do. I have women coming into my program that are literally still trying to eat in a caloric deficit and have been there for over a year because they don't know what to do. So they're living off of practically nothing, thinking that that's what they need to do to maintain long term. We know that's not going to work. So they end up regressing, throwing in the towel because they don't know how to maintain. They don't have the resources available. Also, I think just realizing that you have to have your long term goal in mind. And if your long term goal is to reach a certain weight or optimal body composition and sustain it, you want to make sure whatever you are doing to invest in health, either it be coaching or a program or a diet, that it's really going to give you the essential tools needed so you know how to do that. So they're going to work you through a fat loss phase, and then they're going to follow up with leading you into maintenance and what that looks like while protecting your hormones and your metabolism. Most diet programs, and I'm saying most because there's so many of them, I just can't keep up anymore. None of them are going to do this. Their whole objective is to help you lose weight fast because we want it fast. We want that instant gratification. And then ideally, you keep coming back to that Weight Watcher program, that keto diet, spinning your wheels because you're going to be investing more into their program. A really great program is going to lead you through and show you, teach you, give you the resources so you can not only reach your goal, but you know how to sustain it. And you also, while reaching your goal, did not damage your metabolism and create metabolic adaptation or negatively impact your hormones. So now your hormones are depleted, which is going to make it even more difficult for you to maintain your body composition.
Thank you for sharing that. I think there is so much misinformation out there. And I don't know if you come across this in your work, but I know something that I see a lot is people are hesitant to hire someone like a registered dietitian or a coach because they're like, but I can find all that information online. Or like, aren't you just going to give me a meal plan? Like I see that all the time. And it's not just about this is what to eat, what not to eat. This is how many calories you need. This is how many reps you should do of these exercises. Like it runs much deeper than that. Like it's really taking that holistic approach. And I love what you said about protecting our hormones. I've had my adventures with amenorrhea and dysmenorrhea for a number of reasons at different points in my life. And that taught me so much about what impacts our hormone health, and to the point where like now that's a primary thing I think about when it comes to my health and wellness is like, am I like, if I'm going through a very stressful phase, like part of what I'm thinking about is how can I make my nervous system feel supported so that it doesn't throw off my cycle? Like that's a thing that I just is now on my mind when I'm thinking about my health and lifestyle. But I see a lot of women just focusing on just the number on the scale. And what you shared about instant gratification, wow, that is so on the nose. Like I feel like people still want those results so quickly. But in reality, I think for many people, it's a bit more of a journey. And that's not a bad thing. I think people are scared of a journey.
Yeah,
But it's such a beautiful learning experience for so many people.
I agree. I agree. And I think that you can try and sprint the marathon and maybe you'll make it. Maybe you'll make it halfway and have to start over again. It's not sustainable. You really do want to take time and realize that this is a journey. And a part of the experience for you, regardless of if your goal right now is fat loss, wanting to heal your hormones, build muscle mass, all of these are wonderful goals if that's where you are in your life right now. But you actually want to learn how to do this and why you need to do things a certain way. There's so much more to this than do this workout or eat this many calories today. And you have to learn what really works for you. On a hormonal level and many other ways as well, we are all so unique and different. And what works for me may not work for you. And what your body needs isn't going to be exactly what my body needs. And so realizing that you're unique, your needs are unique, and you want a program that's going to craft that level of customization for you. And then also explain why behind it. So you can start to register this. With a diet, you're really just signing up for the quickest solution to help you get from A to B. And while that may sound enticing and you get that instant gratification, you're not really learning anything. So you don't know how to maintain. You don't know why you are where you are. You don't know why you keep starting over every single Monday, every new year. And a real part of the lasting transformation is one, learning why you're struggling. What is it that's impacting you? Is it all or nothing mindset? Is it just buying into dieting culture BS? Is it something more serious like a hormonal issue? Is it metabolic adaptation? Is it a combination of all of those? Figuring out your why and what's creating that problem for you. And then having a program that's going to include your lifestyle, your exercise, your nutrition to help you get through it. Because the fastest way isn't always the best way. And actually, it's usually not when it comes to our health. So taking your time, realizing this is a marathon, not a sprint, is really a big part of the success formula.
Thank you for sharing that. I want to expand on what you're talking about because you talk about the three phases of transformation, which I would love for you to tell our listeners a little bit about what they are, because I think that's such a great way to phrase that.
Yeah. So when I was doing my work really early on in my career, I realized that everybody was really starting at a different place. And I just saw this in practice. When I was working 40 plus hours a week with clients for many years, I would work with one client for an hour and a half, and then go to the next client. And I started to realize every woman was different. And we all weren't really designed to start in the exact same spot. Now, I do want to highlight a lot of crash diets are actually doing this. You get meal plan A, here's your workout. It's just under the assumption that you're all grouped together because you all have a goal of weight loss, let's say. But that is so wrong and why diets fail. And so I figured out very early on, okay, one client needs to start here. She's in perimenopause and struggling with this. And then this client is actually just really wanting to build muscle mass and she's already eating enough. And okay, this client not only has hormonal imbalances, she's been a chronic dieter for 10 years and eating 1,200 calories a day. She should be able to eat X amount for maintenance or even eat this much at her basal metabolic rate, and she's not. She's probably dealing with metabolic adaptation. So I learned again that we're all starting in a different spot. And those are some examples of how different it can be for us. And so with my company, I said, okay, I want to be able to meet a client where they are. So how can I design a model that's really going to support that? And so that's when I came up with the three phases of transformation. There's the one repair phase, rebuild phase, and the results phase. So the three R's. Each phase is going to focus in on different things. So if you're starting off in the repair phase, that means primarily we're working on hormonal balance, metabolic health. We may not be working on both. It really depends on where you are. If you have only metabolic damage, we're going to help you improve your metabolism via reverse dieting, making sure you're eating enough protein, starting to strength train, cutting back excessive cardio, all of those things that really deplete your body. If you have hormonal imbalances, we can choose, do we want to address it by addressing lifestyle changes, nutrition, exercise, or have you been struggling with this for a while? Do we need to go on to maybe a Dutch test, looking at other functional tests to really get a better insight on where your hormones actually are and then creating a plan there? During the rebuild phase, which is phase 2, we're going to then focus in on establishing that baseline. So if you're starting off in the rebuild phase, you're not worried about hormonal concerns or metabolic damage. You're eating plenty, but you just need a solid plan. Maybe you're eating enough, but not balanced enough for your specific goals. Maybe you want to optimize your hormonal health, even though there's no problem. You're 35 plus and thinking, I'm only getting closer to 40. So I want to start thinking about eating more for hormonal health. And how do I maintain muscle mass and build even more? How do I keep my energy high to keep up with my children? Or the demands of my career. And so during that phase, we work on that and ensuring that you have a stable and solid strength training and exercise plan in place. And as well, your mental health is important. So we always recommend, making sure that we're working through the all or nothing mindset, really just really embracing, hey, you don't have to be perfect to see great results. You can be perfectly imperfect, still see great results. It's not all or nothing. So we work on clients with that because many of the women that come into my world have been dieting for years. It is all or nothing. They're either on the diet or they're off. It's black or white, on the wagon, off the wagon. And it's breaking that mindset that's been in place for years. And so we do a lot of that work in this phase. And then the last phase is the results phase. And this is where everyone wants to start, but most people aren't ready. And this is where we will lead you through a sustainable fat loss transformation, or if you have another goal in mind, we'll lead you through that. And then we'll also transition you into maintenance, ensure you're stabilized before you graduate.
I love the way that you sequence that too, because I feel like so many people want to start in the results phase. They want to lose 5 pounds tomorrow. And I really appreciate what you shared about, focusing on like why like someone maybe is in a place that they don't want to be, and just really the importance of, building the healthy habits that are going to lay the foundation for the result that are sustainable. So I really appreciate that. It's so important to support women with that way.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear like with your clients, like what are some of the things that have been game changers for them, like things that stick out to you?
Yeah. Well, I think realizing that they're not broken and it's not them. And so a lot of times women come to me when nothing else is working or has worked and they feel broken. They feel like it's their fault. They feel like they should have been able to power through that miserable diet that no one could sustain. And I think that has been a game changer in realizing, hey, this is happening for a reason. You're not reaching your goals. One, because the program you're investing in isn't really designed to help you with sustainable long-term goals. It's a quick fix, a crash diet. And two, this program was actually contributing to the metabolic adaptation, the depleted hormones, the thyroid dysfunction, the cortisol, the increased cortisol, depleted sex hormones. And so I think having that realization, once they have that realization, then being able to address the real root cause. And so once we can address the root cause, that is when we start to see life-changing things happen, where people's hormonal health starts to improve, their metabolic health starts to improve. They become confident and comfortable with eating the right amount for their body, which is always eating more for my community. They learn how to exercise correctly. And if anything, they feel like a weight has been lifted off of their shoulders because they're not spinning their wheels. They're not trying to do a million different things. And a lot of the women are in their 30s or 40s, and they are so busy. They don't have time to waste on all of these strenuous 1-2 hour workouts and crash diets. It takes so much mental energy to starve yourself every day. It really does. You have to expend so much to avoid the carbs, to not eat until 12 or 1 o'clock, because God forbid if you break your fasting window. And I feel like it's just, we expend all of this energy. So those are some big breakthroughs. It's just realizing I'm not broken. The approach I was attempting, although it sounded great, it wasn't sustainable to begin with. It was contributing to my disordered eating habits, my metabolic health, my hormonal imbalances. And once I figure out the root cause, I then have that customized plan crafted for me. And I realize all of the spinning my wheels and wasting my time that I was doing isn't even necessary. And so it's a big breakthrough for them.
Amen to that. Thank you for sharing that. No, I'd love to also hear your thoughts. Hormone health. Like I know we could spend like hours and hours talking about this, but what do you want women to know? Like, why is it so important for women to focus on our hormone health when it comes to our well-being? Like, why is this something we should be thinking about? That, if someone asked you like, well, why are you asking about my hormones? Like, What would you tell them?
Your hormones impact everything in your body, from externally, the way you look, your appearance, your skin, your hair, your nails, your weight, your body composition, meaning your body fat distribution, where you're storing body fat, is very much so correlated with your hormones. But then, even more important, in my opinion, is internally. It impacts your hormones, are impacting your health, your well being, your metabolic health, even outside of calories consumed. So it's impacting, your overall health, contributing to many things related to disease and oxidative stress on your body, your libido, your energy levels, your digestion, bowel movements, your monthly cycles. These are our vital signs as humans. These are things that, we want to function optimally, not just our weight. That's just one piece of the puzzle. When we look at a person as a whole, there's so many pieces of that, right? That really make us whole. And also our mood. All of these things are impacted by our hormones. And so it's so critical when you see a woman that is going through perimenopause without any support, for example, her estrogen is depleted or just not there. Her testosterone is depleted, and as well as her progesterone. She's not sleeping. She's moody. She doesn't feel like herself. Her hair may be falling out. She's gaining inches in her midsection. She's trying to diet and exercise like she was maybe in her early 30s and 20s, but not seeing results. She has no libido. She's experiencing vaginal dryness, incontinence, all of these symptoms, where it's not just your weight. There's so much more to this. And so when you explain those symptoms, I would go to say that with all of those symptoms I just listed, I would say that person's not happy, not feeling great, not feeling energetic, or feeling like, hey, this is the body I want to live in for another 30 plus years, possibly. And so that is why your hormones are so important.
Yes. Thank you for highlighting that. I feel like I feel like it's an aspect of women's health that gets kind of swept under the rug a lot, or that I also find a lot of women are afraid to talk to their doctors about it. That one, they're afraid that their doctor won't listen or doesn't have time to listen. But also, I think sometimes women don't know what kind of questions to ask, what kinds of assessments to ask for. I know you just noted a few important hormones to pay attention to. What types of, tests or assessments would you recommend if someone is suspecting that there's some kind of hormonal imbalance or that their hormones are maybe not in a great place at that time?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. I love that question because it can give someone resources and some homework even after today's episode. So there's a couple of things I would recommend. So personally with my clients in my community, I really live by the Dutch test. I really love that. That's more of a functional test. It's very comprehensive. It's a dried urine test. It's going to assess your hormones and specifically give you lots of great information about cortisol and your sex hormones and how your body is breaking down like your estrogens and some really key things that you need to know about your hormones. But most of the time, that's not covered by insurance and not even something that your regular PCP or OB would necessarily know about or offer. It's definitely more of a functional test that you may see with a functional nutritionist or, even a more natural, holistic doctor, naturopathic doctor. So the Dutch test is something I personally do every single year on myself just to get baseline to see where my hormones are. I love it. I live by it. I'm actually going to be doing another one on myself here soon. And it really looks at data and it looks at your sex hormones on day 19 all the way to day 21, which is the key time to do that. So it's a really great test to look at your sex hormones. So the Dutch test is one resource. If you don't know much about that, you can always look it up. You could also reach out to me. I can share information with you on how we go about doing that here at Metabolic Fix. In addition to that, you can talk to your doctor and just get some baseline labs ran. It's going to give you something. I'm not by any means saying when you're looking at some of these sex hormones, it's the best way, in my personal opinion, based off of my research to assess sex hormones, estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, but it's going to give you data. And that's a good starting point. But additionally, looking at your thyroid function is really important, your TSH, and then your T3, your T4, thyroid antibodies. These are things that you really want to assess. It's going to give you so much information about your body, your metabolism. And then from there, you can build protocols to support optimal hormone function if things are off with your nutrition, supplements, lifestyle. So those are some of the tests I think at first, but you can go to your doctor as well and request blood tests that can give you some insight. I personally prefer the Dutch testing for some more just, to get, I guess you would say, more comprehensive labs on those sex hormones. But if you're just needing a start, starting with just some great lab work and requesting those tests will be helpful.
And I do think it's really important to advocate for yourself too. A lot of doctors I have found who are not in the functional space are very they try to tell women that that stuff is worthless or doesn't mean anything. But and honestly, in my personal life, I found those types of resources so helpful. I know when we were on our fertility journey, I have no relationship with this company. I just love their product. It's called Mira. It's like an advanced ovulation predictor kit, you might call it, where it's like basically like an at-home lab. It's like you pee in a cup and you put the stick in the cup and it tells you all this stuff about like your FSH and your estrogen, like different markers of estrogen and progesterone. And like, it just is so helpful just to have that information and to not have to deal with your doctor, like rolling their eyes at you or not having to like, get up at at the it's crack of dawn and like go to like a pre-dawn, like monitoring visit. Like, I think, there's so many barriers for women to getting care for our hormone health, financial and energy and time management, and also just a lot of pushback from providers, unless you were lucky enough to work with a provider who is very like patient centered, right? Like, and it's not that doctors don't care. I think that a lot depends on the training that they're given about women's hormone health, a lot about their time constraints. But I honestly, in my own life, I found it so helpful to take the spreadsheets and my screenshots of like what was coming up when I was tracking things, whether with like the Mira app or other tools that I was using, and share that with my provider and be like, this is where, this is what I'm seeing. These are the questions I have, and a good provider is going to have a conversation with you about it. A provider who maybe is not the best fit for you is going to just totally dismiss your concerns. But I think that to your point, like data can be so powerful. And I just want women to feel empowered to seek out this data that can be helpful. Obviously, too much good things possible. I don't know if this ever comes up with your clients, but I in my own life, I always say like, do as I do, not as I say. There was a time where I was using 5 or 6 different types of fertility tracking apps at the same time, like for measuring different things. Like, you don't have to do that. Like, I don't want women to think that. And it's not just for fertility. It can also be helpful for monitoring like perimenopause and sort of noticing when you're transitioning. But I know in my life, it showed up during like a phase where we were trying to conceive, and I made myself nuts. I spent so much time and money. Like, if I could get back the thousands of dollars I probably spent on all that stuff, oh man, I could take a very nice vacation, which would probably do a lot more good. But that's a story for another day. But I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think just knowing what questions to ask, what tests to look for, and what to request from their doctor. And, you also mentioned like the thyroid panel, the Dutch test, like there's a lot of great resources and we're allowed to ask for them and to use them.
Right. And you can also work with functional nutritionists and functional doctors, naturopathic doctors, women that do work like us, where they can help you and help you understand some of these issues and how do you go about addressing it. And, one of the things I say is with women in my community, we can go about this whatever way really fits your budget and your lifestyle at this time. And sometimes it's not immediately doing testing or paying for Dutch testing. It could be changing lifestyle habits, changing nutrition, exercise, really doubling down on those things and monitoring those biofeedback signals. So your digestion, monitoring your energy levels, digestion meaning your bowel movements, and overall, are you experiencing gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation? Are you going more regularly? How often? But checking in on a regular basis with that, your energy levels, your sleep, your body composition, your monthly cycles, are they more regular? Are you noticing less pain, less cramping, less clotting? Are you noticing your periods are coming more regularly? Or maybe one month it comes and you don't even recognize it because you felt so normal. You can do a lot there. I'll say over 50% of the women in my community, they don't do testing outside of their normal yearly labs, because we do so much with just everything that I just mentioned: lifestyle, nutrition, exercise. But if you are in a position where those things aren't working for you, you can then do some form of lab and functional testing, but you don't want to take it too far. And you really want to have someone guiding you, because it's easy to get out of control with it, where you're suddenly looking at a bunch of different tests and you're tracking all this data and you're wasting money on tests you don't need, and you're taking supplements that your favorite Instagram, coach or trainer is using, and you're just like literally throwing money down the drain. So there is something that I do believe that too much information and too much can be bad. And you just want to work with someone that's going to be able to drive that car for you and let you know what to do and how to do it and where you should invest your money and maybe where you should hold off. I recently am thinking of a client, and I've had many women come to me and say, "Oh, well, I'm taking this supplement or I'm going to go do this test." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, why are you doing this? Why are you taking this?" "Oh, well, I saw so and so." No, please don't. I don't even think you need that supplement to begin with, or you need that test. Let's just wait. Let's hold off on that. Or before you spend hundreds of dollars a month on supplements, let's do some like Dutch testing or get some labs ran so we can actually see if you need that. Maybe you don't need that. And so I think it's just being really wise, being your own health advocate, but realizing you don't have to do this alone, having people that are in your corner. And sometimes it's not your doctor, because on my lab panels with my normal PCP, everything looks normal. When I went to do advanced hormone testing, I was not normal. My hormones were very depleted. The doctor I was utilizing was not checking things during the right days. Things were looking abnormally spiked or normal when they weren't. And so when I looked at my labs and I did Dutch testing, things were not normal. And finally, I was so happy to know that, because it was, for once in my life, I didn't feel like I was crazy. If you're listening in, you may be thinking, I don't know, for you even, like there are times when you're like, I know something's not right. And you're, nope, everything's fine. And you're like, okay, maybe I'm losing my mind here. But for me, it wasn't that. And so it's really like, okay, great. I'm not crazy. So just because things look fine on one lab doesn't mean it's really fine. It's good to do more digging and figuring it out with help.
Thank you for sharing that, because there is a huge difference between normal on a lab test and optimal, right?
Yes, exactly.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I just wanted to, as we're sort of starting to wind down, I wanted to ask you, is there anything that you just really wish women knew when it comes to their hormone health? Just something that you wish was just common knowledge that that women just grew up knowing was something that, was important.
Yes. The foods you eat are going to directly impact your hormones for better or for worse. And I want that to be something that empowers the listeners to take more action. And it's not about calories in, calories out, and all calories are not the same. The foods you eat will directly impact your hormones. And in this phase of life that we're all in, even more stress and just more demand on all of us, it is definitely a time to take our nutrition seriously and start making better choices to just fuel our bodies and support ourselves hormonally. And healthy food isn't diet food. It's great food for your body. And so food is really medicine. And so just realizing, if you're concerned about your hormones and you don't have resources for testing or coaching or all the things, really start doubling down on your nutrition, because you can do so much with your food that's going to make a positive impact on your hormones.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. So everyone out there listening, write that one down. So Ashley, it's been so wonderful having you on here today. Is there anything you'd like to share that you'd love our audience to know about, or where you'd like them to connect with you and learn more about your work?
Yeah, so I have a couple of great things. I do have a free hormone assessment. So if you're listening in and you're just wanting to learn more about hormonal health, you're wanting to just kind of get a little bit of insight into your own hormonal health, you could take my free assessment and you'll receive an email instantly, just really breaking down what that assessment showed for you and then giving you some free resources to start taking action. I also have a podcast, Cheers to Your Success, where I dive into hormonal health, metabolic health, nutrition, exercise. I'm also a certified personal trainer, and that's some of the work I do too. So that's a really great place to connect with me. And then you can find tons of other resources on my website. And I'm always hanging out on Instagram as well at Ashley_Fillmore1.
Amazing. We'll be sure to link to all that in the show notes.
Wonderful.
So, okay, Ashley, I have one more question for you. And this is a question I ask all my guests. And I love asking about this topic because it's so individual and it's, constantly can be evolving for each of us. But, today, at this moment in time, what does healthy living mean to you?
Yeah, healthy living to me really means longevity, good quality of life, giving my body the best shot that it possibly has as we navigate, through all of our seasons of life, taking care of myself, eating well, also showing myself grace and realizing that I don't have to be perfect, exercising and moving my body in a way that's going to support me and my goals and aging and all the things we have to go through. Healthy living is being able to keep up with my daughters and, supporting them, as well as just being able to take care of myself as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for being a guest today. I love this conversation. I can talk to you about this stuff all day. So I appreciate you sharing your time and your expertise with our audience.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
And for all of you guys who are out there listening, maybe you're taking a walk or cleaning your house or cooking, a lot of things that I like to do when I'm listening to podcasts. If you like this episode or if you're sitting listening to this, awesome. I love that. If you'd like it, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. They do matter and help me continue to bring you great guests like Ashley, and share this episode with anyone you think might enjoy this, or take a screenshot of yourself listening. Tag me, tag Ashley. We love hearing from you. As always, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day and we'll talk soon. Thank you for listening to Drama-Free Healthy Living with Jess Cording. We'll see you next time. And just one more thing. I may be a dietitian, but I'm not your dietitian. The information in this podcast is meant for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat any medical condition. It is also not a replacement for individual counseling. Always check with your healthcare provider for questions related to your own health and well-being.